So good morning, everyone. I am still sorting through the technology, as I was just saying, and so thanks for your patience. Let's sit for a little bit together. We're going to dive into a practice centering at the second chakra, and the focus in the Brahmaviharas this week for me is the practice of Mudita. So please rest your hands in your lap and close your eyes. And start bringing your attention into the central plumb line of the body if you haven't yet. And gently notice, without imposing anything, notice what is happening with your breath and your body. How are they connected? Of all the myriad kinds of influences you've had since your last centering practice, so stimulation, conversation, activity, responsibilities, food, sleep, and so on, what are you now getting as the news of the relationship between your breath and your body? And what changes with that news if you consider going to the wisest part of you that sort of chaperones and supports your yoga practice? Sometimes I think of that like in the high school when I was the member of the band. Before the conductor would walk in, we were all just talking, rifling through our music, looking at the sheet music. We were warming up our instruments. We were trying to play each other's instruments. We were not staying in our seats. We were tossing notes back and forth. We were kind of like mayhem. Now, we were all pretty committed because we went to this band class before school started. We took an extra early bus to go to the school to have this class, but we were all kind of rambunctious until the conductor walked in, and then he tapped his baton on the podium and like tap, 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 and we would come into some formation. So whatever's happening in you, go to the inner sort of orchestra conductor, the wise part, and you can just tap on your attention to bring it into order. Use the Ujjayi breath to support that process. And also raise your hands to your heart. It's another gesture that we use to center. So may our practice this morning help us to know how to choose wisdom over mayhem. When the pendulum in the second chakra is swinging between craving and aversion, depending on how wildly it's swinging, it doesn't feel like we get to choose. It feels like we're having to choose relief rather than wisdom. And so may our practice this morning help us to move from wisdom, not from mayhem. Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari And with your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands when you're ready to. You may open your eyes. There you go. Let me change to the other microphone. I could put my glass, but I didn't. Okay. All right, so I'd like you to take a seat in Baddha, which is sitting upright with the soles of the feet together. And you can put blocks under the knees if you would benefit from that. When you first take the seat, you might feel like, oh, it's very comfortable, but in time, gravity might have some different ideas for you. So you can place blocks at the ready if you'd like to. And when you're sitting up like this, make sure you're sitting up tall enough that you feel like when you place the pelvis, it actually is upright. You're not rolling backwards. And then take the side of the fist like this against the inner thigh. So one of the things we're going to do this morning is try to move energy wisely to redistribute, because stagnant energy in the body in different places is one reason we end up with craving and aversion. We feel like disorganized in our energy pattern. So go from the upper inner thigh to the knee. You're asking the energy to go down the leg. This is also along the kidney, spleen, and liver meridians. Let's go down the shin. Okay, and then over to the other leg. So use the fist along the inside. And you are going from the upper thigh down to the knee. Like you're directing the fluids of the body or the flow of prana also. And then down the shin. This is called supportment, by the way. Now take the feet a little bit farther out. So we call this omega pose when we take the feet out farther. And you can do both sides. Try going all the way down the legs. And then taking your thumbs to the inner arches. Go from the inner heel, or it's close to the back of the arch, and then down to the middle of the arch, and up to the mounds of the toes and to the toes. Okay, and then make your feet flat on the floor, please, and have the knees bent. Take your fist to the outside now. So the outer thighs first, from the upper down to the knees. And then down to the lower legs. And then I'd like you to focus on a spot. It's about 2 or 3 finger spots lower than the knee at the outer shin. It's called stomach 35 in Chinese medicine. So along the stomach meridian. And then slide your hands down, put your thumbs on the inside and slide the thumbs in little, how shall I say, little pressures, right? So pokes, I guess you could call it that. And I want you to come down to the place where you're at. So it's just above your ankle, and it's about 3 fingers up above the ankle. And there's a spot there where the kidney, liver, and spleen meridians come together. And so come down this inner seam of the leg with your thumbs, and then arrive at that spot. Give it a good little loving poke, I guess you would say. Okay, and then bring the feet into Sukhasana. Please cross your ankles. Sit upright. Close the eyes and notice if there's any change of how organized your energy feels right now, if the conductor were to walk in with the baton. Perhaps you might even feel a little bit more seated in the pelvis because you're moving energy down the legs. So what is stagnant gets released in that direction. You need to continue that process. Please release from your blanket. Come over to kneeling. You can push the blankets back out of your way. When you come to kneeling, sit on the knees comfortably, and if necessary, put a blanket under your hips, between your hips and your heels. Okay, great. And then interlace your fingers, point the heels of the hands down. As you inhale, raise up with the arms. And then exhale, press the arms wide, come forward and down to child's pose. Then inhale, rise up, sweep your arms wide, raise them overhead, interlace the fingers. Exhale, push up. Inhale, look up. Exhale, press the arms wide, come down to child's pose, squeeze the lower belly. Inhale, rise up, raise your arms, palms face up, interlace the fingers. Exhale, push up, squeeze the lower belly in. Inhale to look up. And exhale, take the arms wide, squeeze the lower belly. Once more, inhale, arms wide, rise up. Exhale, press up through the heels of your hands, squeeze the lower belly in. And inhale to look up. Exhale, arms wide. Hands on your thighs. Place your attention at the second chakra. 5 strong exhales, 1 long exhale. A long inhale through the nose, inhale suspension, and then exhale like a cocktail straw. Inhale through the nose. Suspend, snug the low belly in and up. Release the bandhas and exhale slowly like you're holding a cocktail straw between the lips. And then deeply relax the belly. Again. Allow yourself to deeply relax so you're coming back to equilibrium. Using 2 blocks, reach forward just slightly enough that you can curl the toes under, and then press your heels to the floor in Uttanasana. And inhale, lengthen the heart forward. Exhale for a deep bow to your legs. It's okay to have a little bend in the knees if you need to. Please keep the knees as wide as the third toe. Inhale, glide your heart forward. Exhale, come over the toes and down. Inhale, Uttanasana. Exhale, bow towards the legs. Use the lower belly, keep the arms out in front. Inhale, glide forward through the heart. Exhale, roll over your toes, come down through kneeling. Again, inhale, curl the toes under, Uttanasana. Exhale, bow towards the legs while the arms are forward. So it's really that your inner body is making the gesture. Notice the lower abdomen. Inhale, glide your heart forward. And exhale, come over the toes. And come to kneeling. Place a block for your head. Place your fists in the lower belly. And so here we're going to inhale while we're upright, and you exhale to fold over the fists in the belly. You're coming down to child's pose. At the bottom of that exhale, we won't be inhaling. We'll be holding the inhale out, but we're also going to totally relax the muscles that made the exhale possible. There'll be a small moment of suction there, an inner vacuum, and then we'll inhale in our own timing to come back up. So here we do the first one together. Here's the inhale. Exhale. Holding the breath out, deeply relax the exhale muscles. There is an inner vacuum. And then you tone the lower belly before inhaling to rise back up. And deeply relax or proceed with the next breath cycle. So some people need to pause between cycles and some go consistently. It's based on the level of your experience with the practice. Move with respect for your body and kind of the music of the body so you're not causing breathlessness or mayhem. And please do one more round, whether you're taking a pause between the cycles or going consistently, please do one more. And then rest your hands in your lap. And just try to sense if you're able to connect to the inner wisdom, like the inner conductor of the orchestra. Now you've been kneeling for some time, so getting the energy to move back down the legs is a way of reorganizing where we get stagnant energy and we need to free up energy. So place the two blocks again. Place them a little bit more forward this time, so you're in a bit of an angle like you would use for downward dog pose for the arms. And then inhale forward, toes under, reach back, downward dog pose. Notice the inner feeling of the breath moving through the belly after having that was called Kurma Mudra or Kurmasana. And then walk your hands and feet towards each other and come into Uttanasana as you normally practice it. So for some, that's going to mean that the torso and the thighs are quite snug. For others, bend the knees to make that snugness if you need to. And let's see now if you could inhale and broaden the back hemisphere of the body. And exhale, tone the inner belly slowly from the pubic bone up the front of the spine, even if the knees are bent here. Place your forearms behind your calves. You may choose to cross the arms and hold the opposite elbow, or you could put the forearms down the back of the calves, holding onto the ankles. And inhale, broaden the back hemisphere of the body. And exhale, pay close attention to what happens from the pubic bone inward towards your sacrum and up the front of your spine. And then place your hands on your hips and prepare for there to be a change of circulation as you rise up to standing. Stand tall in mountain pose and know that there's going to be this energy flow that goes down the legs. Place yourself in your footprints. Okay, take a wide stance like jazz dance warm up and come down, hands to your knees. Press out against the inner thighs. And when you draw back here with the sitting bones, yes, take the sitting bones back and the inner thighs will follow, but then drop your tailbone down towards your pubic bone. So there's a sense of balance at the pelvic floor. And now the Ujjayi breath, we're going to inhale slowly from the pelvic floor to the back of the body. And then exhale from the front of the pelvic floor, just in your own timing, moving up the front of your spine. When you exhale, give a good sense of really exhaling completely. Start noticing the pauses, and I'm going to ask you to extend the pauses so it'll feel like at the inhale pause, you're still inhaling, but no air is coming. At the exhale pause, you're still exhaling, but no more air is leaving. Now press down into your heels, and with your next inhale, rise up to standing and go toe heel in until you're in the horse stance position. Okay, so this is deliberate and consecutively moving between the energy of the legs and then the pranayama in the abdomen right here. So now we're going side to side, and when you go side to side, the fists can strike the kidneys and the adrenals on the back, the liver and the spleen on the front. And you want that rhythm to be something that's yours, doesn't have to be the same as mine. Try to keep your feet, shins, and knees pretty stable. So the rotation is your torso, so that you're getting the twist into the belly. Make it a little bit faster. You might be generating a little bit of heat. And it's going to become a very powerful exhale in just a moment. And the exhale, you push the heel of the hand forward, and the other hand pulls back like a fist. Five, four, three, two, one. Inhale, go up. Feet parallel, and exhale, come down like a rag doll. Invite your mind to deeply relax, so the breath will organize the inner body for you. With your fists, reach around to the back of the kidneys and adrenals. You can include the lower back, the SI joints, outer hips, outer thighs, outer shins, pausing at stomach 35. So a little extra time right there. And then down the outer shins. Inner ankles, just above the ankle in that spot I was talking about before. It's about 3 finger spots up. And then up along the inside of the calves. Raise your torso up and come to the inner thighs. Rise up to standing and go to the belly. And you go down the right, up the right, across, down the left, up the right, across, down the left. And then relax and notice from the diaphragm down to the feet. Okay, and please go heel toe out until you're in your stance for Prasarita. And here we're going to return to the exhale pause that becomes exhale suspension. So walk your hands forward so that the pose is stretched out. And draw your hips back, root down through your heels. And come into the Ujjayi breath. So you have a sense the inhale is deliberately broad across the back of your body, and the inhale is filled with patience. And then exhale from the pubic bone in towards the sacrum, and really take your time, noticing just on this first round, how do you squeeze the exhale breath out? Make a smooth transition to your next inhale. Now this exhale is in preparation for your first exhale suspension. So you squeeze the breath out at the bottom of the exhale squeeze. Without inhaling, deeply relax the belly muscles. Notice the vacuum that happens there, supported by gravity. Then tone the low belly and inhale smoothly. You may repeat that twice more, whether that's consecutively because you have the experience to do so, or you have a pause between the repetitions. So we're exploring what that exhale pause into suspension is like. There is a further horizon that's called Uddiyana Bandha, which is a larger sense of that vacuum. For right now, please walk your hands up your legs, rise up to standing. Let's go heel toe in, and come to mountain pose. So I want to be clear that we're asking some energy to go down. That's called apanavayu. We're asking for some energy to get released. So stagnation can be released and resolved. We're asking other energy to rise up, and that's called pranavayu. So apanavayu goes down, pranavayu comes up. Pranavayu comes up from things like that exhale suspension and up the line of the central channel. Apanavayu goes down, the organs of elimination and resolution. Okay, let's step to our sun salutation now and just see if perhaps in the sun salutation you'll feel like, oh, I have had like a little cleanse. So it might be easier to move your body smoothly or to have some sense that the joints aren't so stiff like the Tin Man. So please step to the front of your mat. We will be using Andane Asana this morning. We're also going to be working with the ankles, knees, and hips in compression and then the release of the compression. So please join your hands together and come into your Ujjayi breath. Imagine the inner conductor of the orchestra, and that conductor comes to bring the perceived mayhem into order, so your pendulum is not swinging wildly left to right. Let's go inhale the hands down, wide and up. Exhale, chair pose. Breathe in chair pose. Keep your heels grounded and exhale to a deeper chair pose like you're downhill skiing. And then inhale, rise up, upward hands pose. And exhale, arms wide, come forward and down to your Uttanasana. Inhale, glide forward, raise the back of the body, and then bring your gaze forward. Exhale, take your left toes back, touch your left knee down for Andane Asana. Okay, and in this one, I'd like your knee to come forward in line with the toes. So not past, but in line with the toes. You've got the ankle, knee, and hip joints are temporarily compressed. Press into your left knee, press into your fingertips, raise your heart. Even as you press down through your right heel, your left knee, and your fingers and thumbs, raise your heart up. And then exhale, keep your chest and thigh touching as you straighten both legs, even if you can't totally straighten your front leg. Okay, let's inhale and roll through and down to this Andane Asana. Lift up through your heart. Exhale, glide back. Lift your left knee, strengthen your left leg, chest and thigh touching, bow over your right leg. Inhale, roll through. And exhale, follow the pace that's yours. So your inner orchestra conductor sets the rhythm of the instruments of the orchestra. And do this twice more, please. You might notice that really the entire time in this kind of sequence, your right hip is in flexion. The left leg in Andane Asana comes into extension. The right hip stays in flexion. Do it one more time. This time as you roll through to Andane Asana, prepare to transition to plank pose where your right leg will go from flexion to neutral. So place your palms, strengthen your left leg. Inhale the right leg back to plank pose. Notice your right leg getting recirculated. And then inhale, raise your hips high and come into downward facing dog pose. And exhale, left foot forward, right knee down. Bring the left knee in line with the toes of your right foot. So we start with awareness that you have compression, left ankle, left knee, left hip. You press down into all of your fingers and your thumbs. Raise the heart up. Yeah, that's good. I'm looking at you in my mirror because the large monitor shines into the mirror. Okay, and then exhale, let's glide backwards. And inhale to glide forward. Make it smooth in rhythm with your own breathing. The music of your body is to be respected and is not expected to be the same as my rhythm. And notice this time that the left hip stays in flexion during the sequence. And sometimes we try the sort of top-down approach of reducing craving and aversion. Top-down means that we're trying to use our mind and our wisdom and our intellect. Of course, those are helpful. But using the somatics of the body to kind of reorganize the stagnant or excess energy can also help us. So the next time you're coming through Andane Asana, plan to step backwards to plank pose. Strengthen the right leg, step the left foot back to plank. And notice your left leg recirculating. And then inhale, reach back, downward facing dog pose. And exhale, one foot forward, second foot forward, Uttanasana. Come back to the placement of your forearms behind your calves. Inhale to the back hemisphere of your body. Exhale, bend your knees deeply like you're skiing the moguls. Then sweep the arms forward to chair pose, this version of chair pose. And inhale to your regular chair pose. And then inhale, press down, rise up, upward hands pose. And exhale, arms wide. Release and come to notice in mountain pose. How is the energy being redistributed through your body, including all the way to the feet, all the way to your fingertips? Okay, we're going to return sun salutation now. And I'm going to ask you at some point to put the 2 blocks on the inside of your ankle. You will see when that comes. So join your palms together. Now, having had the last sun salutation is really to get the lower body more organized, that the energy is going down. So that's up, go up, and that's pranavayu. So join your palms together. And inhale, raise up with the Ujjayi breath. Exhale, separate your hands, come to chair pose. Inhale, rise up from chair pose, look up. Open the arms like the letter Y. Exhale for a standing back bend. Inhale, raise up the hands like an arrow. And exhale down through Anjali Mudra to Uttanasana. Inhale, glide forward, look forward. With your exhale, take your left toes back, pivot your left heel to the floor in Virabhadrasana 1. Put the 2 blocks to the inside of your right ankle. And then inhale, reach your arms forward like we did in that chair pose variation. And exhale, root down to rise up, Virabhadrasana 1. If possible, bring the hands overhead like an arrow. Lift your heart up towards your hands. And press firmly into your left inner heel, the back of your left heel, and where possible, the outer left heel too. Lift the inner left arch so your inner thigh is strong. Root the tailbone so it goes down and forward towards your pubic bone. Tone your right outer hip and hamstring. And as you lift up through the inner body, include the back of the spine. And now we're going to exhale and take this arrow forward. Keep the back leg really steady. In the arrow position for the hands, your palms are facing each other. Keep your left arm in that position and place your right hand firmly on its block. And start turning from your right sitting bone, the right side of the tailbone, the right side of your sacrum, outer right thigh. Press into your outer right heel and rotate your pelvis to your left in the inner belly. Then the mid belly, upper chest and heart. But the left hand is still in its position for the arrow. You press firmly into your right outer hip and heel and raise your right hand up to the arrow. And then exhale, return your hands to your 2 blocks. And while we're here, for those who have the flexibility, you can take the elbows down to the blocks. It's also possible to raise the blocks. Cross your left hand on the front of the 2 blocks and place your left hand around your right outer shin. Take your right hand to your right knee and twist to your right. Turn the inner belly to the right. You may gaze on the horizon, you might gaze at the floor, you might gaze at the ceiling. And then keeping the left leg strong, return your two hands to your blocks. Check that your blocks could represent plank pose. Pivot the left heel up. Step your toes in flexion for quite some time. Reach backwards to downward dog pose. Step your left foot forward. Pivot the right heel to the floor behind you. So this side I will only do partially with you because I'm still gaining my strength back. But press back into your right inner heel. And as if you were doing that chair pose where you're sort of downhill skiing on the moguls, then inhale, take your arms forward like an arrow. And then exhale, root from your tailbone down. Use the strength of your pelvis and your legs. And rise up to warrior one. And when you rise up, you can take the arms overhead like an arrow. And check the strength of the back leg, so don't leave it out. Right inner heel, the back of your right heel, the right outer heel. Lift the inner arch and the inner thigh. And the tailbone goes down and forward. You can place the hands like an arrow. And imagine sustaining that arrow position as you come forward. Place your left hand on its block, but keep the right arm in the arrow position. And then begin to turn left sitting bone, the left side of the tailbone, left outer thigh. Press into your outer left heel. Turn your pelvis to the right. Sweep the lower belly in as you rotate your mid-torso. And then your heart. You're doing so beautifully, thank you. Now keeping the right arm in its arrow position, come down. Oh, sorry, I should have given you the challenge, but I can't do it, so I'll just verbalize it. Come back to your side angle pose, please. And see if you can raise your left arm to join the right hand like an arrow. And keep that as you rotate to come back down towards your blocks. And then you can place your elbows on the tall blocks. The mid blocks or the small blocks is up to you. And cross your right forearm over those blocks so you can twist to your left. You might hold your left shin with your right hand. Place your left hand on your left knee for stability. Turn your belly to the left. And then exhale and unwind. And notice again that your body has been left hip in flexion for some time. So place your two blocks at the ready for plank pose. Pivot your right heel up and step the left foot back. You are redistributing the energy of the legs. Now touch the knees down, point the toes. Put the blocks so that they are appropriate for your seal pose. Bring the hips forward. And raise up to seal pose. Point the toes behind you. Use the flare of the feet. Yeah. Press into your knees, tailbone down, and the heart up. And then root into your knees and hands. Roll the belly in, table pose, and sit back to Virasana or Vajrasana, whichever you prefer. Vajrasana is sitting on the heels, and Virasana is sitting between the heels. And let yourself get very still. Now with 2 blocks within reach for your hands, please come to lying on your back. When you lie down, take the 2 blocks on the flat setting and make them into a little triangle like this. Lift your hips and place the block so that your sacrum is between the 2 edges of the blocks. You can rest your feet on the floor. And just watch your body as if the pelvis were a basin and the water is returning to this basin from some element or activity in nature. The water is returning to the basin. Relax your sacrum between the edges of the blocks. Release any unnecessary tension in the pelvis and the hips. And imagine the inner stillness of the pendulum. You could even also picture like how the orchestra gets organized and there's a sense of this majesty or co-participation that's going on. In that situation, if you're a musician in the orchestra, it feels like you become the music, it's coming through you. So you can kind of witness all the particles of the body organizing, kind of like music. And using the lower belly, raise your knees up to be 90-90. I know you're resting on the blocks and that might be tender. Relax the upper body completely. Begin to glide your knees towards your chest. You're going to feel the massage of the sides of the blocks moving up the edges of your sacrum. As the knees get closer to the chest and torso, you can picture that you're asking the water of the pelvic basin to move up towards the heart. Take your hands behind your hamstrings, between the hamstrings and the calves, and give a little squeeze of the knees towards the shoulders. So you're asking the water element, the water of clarity, receptivity, to move up towards the heart. And then let's slowly return the knees and the feet to the 90-90 position. Lightly touch the toes down. And then press into your heels. Now, when you lift the hips, take the 2 blocks just to the outside of the greater trochanter, still on that little angle, and touch your sacrum down to the floor. And then stretch the left leg out, slide the block as need be, stretch the right leg out, slide that block out as need be. And come to rest and watch your body recalibrate the energies, the pranas inside. When our energy becomes stagnant, we experience things like grasping, craving, aversion, resentment, envy. We can also experience that when one part of the energy pattern is stagnant, another part gets overactive. So that's why we feel sort of urgency or haste or frenzy. And sometimes with stagnation, we go to apathy or lethargy. So imagine all the waterways, all the channels of your body are open. And as everything flows more easily, the native qualities of your heart also come forward more easily, like Karuna, which means compassion, and Mudita, which is our ability to appreciate the good fortune of others, to have happiness for their happiness. Mudita arises when we are free from craving, comparison, jealousy, when we are free from envy. And mudita is the practice to help us reduce the misperceptions of envy, jealousy, comparison. Listen as all the systems of your body are aiming to come back into balance. And welcome the mystery of the process, which happens more beautifully with your surrender.
Let the heaviness of the body continue. The recalibration of energy, all the channels, all the locks of the body. Each of the joints can be a passageway for the energy to flow smoothly. We reduce the likelihood of craving and aversion and increase the possibility of mudita. Allow yourself to bask in the stillness of the Shavasana. You're being recalibrated. And then increase awareness of where you are in the present moment. And welcome a slightly deeper breath in. And please make a transition from Shavasana back to sitting. When you come upright, try to sense the pelvic basin into which you are taking your seat. And then this upright channel. One of the ways that we kind of test drive our mudita practice is we say, can I have happiness for the happiness of someone that I cherish? I'm seeing their happiness. And I feel goodness for them. And can we have an inner happiness towards our own happiness? Do we feel timid about that? Can you shine this mudita inwardly for the parts of you that are experiencing joy or optimism? Or do we dim them? Do we put like a little shade on them? And perhaps more difficult than both of those practices is the question, can we practice mudita towards someone that we have had aversion towards? Can we be happy for their happiness? Can we feel the freedom of delight when they are experiencing ease or joy or good fortune? That is the most difficult of the forms of mudita. We'll talk more about these forms next week. Just get a little taste, a little appetizer of each of them this morning. And please bring your hands to your heart. So to have mudita towards people that we love and they're close to us, they're in our inner endearment circle. We're happy for their good fortune when we see that happening. We feel relieved and uplifted for them. Can we extend that same kind of offer to our inner parts that are feeling optimistic or enthusiastic, that are having good vibrancy? And can we consider offering this also to someone towards whom we have had some aversion? Or maybe they're a person that we've experienced pain with. Can we have mudita towards them when they're experiencing good fortune? This is why mudita is a more difficult practice than it first seems to be. So let's chant the sound of Om together 3 times, please. 1 for each of those, towards a person we feel endeared by, towards our inner experience, and an Om for the person if you have somebody with whom you experience aversion or pain. Please breathe in. Om. 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 Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. And I would be delighted to know if you felt recalibrated as a result of the practice. Do you feel like the energy pathways in your body, are they moving more harmoniously? You can have facial gestures, you can use sign language, you can use the chat, you can also unmute and say if you want to. And you can also just be deeply quiet because of your practice right now. That's also understandable. Yeah, I always like to read the chat. Thank you. The tapping practice, yeah, it comes from Qigong actually. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thank you, Peggy, for saying that. Yeah. To take that seat deep in the pelvis. And I know that that might have been a challenging practice for some hips. Carol, you're unmuted. Did you want to say something? Can you guys hear her? No? Thank you, Nancy. Carol, your sound isn't working, I don't think, even though it was working last night. Alice, you can't hear her, is that right? Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear Alice, yeah. Carol's busy typing now, so that's good. We'll get to find out what she's saying. Yeah.
Girls typing, I'll share. I was feeling sometimes glimmers of recalibration and sometimes kind of hope of recalibration.
Oh, that's helpful. Yeah. So my aim is to stick with this, the second chakra and mudita for another week or so, and maybe longer. I'll just base it on what I see in the Zoom room, because my sense is that the recalibration, when we are able to have the energy body more balanced, the Brahmaviharas don't feel so out of reach or so like we have to kind of mock them. We have to pretend that we're experiencing them. So like we realize, oh, that is in me. That's happening through me. I am a portal for that thing called Mudita or Karuna. Um, Michelle says she's less fragmented on many layers. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Margaret. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. Good, Carol. Thank you. I can see that there. Yeah. I'm also working a lot right now with the liver, spleen, and kidney meridians because my pelvis is recalibrated from my surgery. Time. But because of vitality, they recommend those 2 points a lot for vitality. Somebody used to tell me it was like the acupuncture for the fountain of youth. Right here. I don't know if everybody names it the same way or if that acupuncturist was just being playful. Carol is saying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Beginning of a new collaboration between parts that have been working together in a protective, right? Protective, but less than optimal way. Yes. Okay. That's really helpful. Yeah. So you're gonna have a like a remodel. It'll be wonderful. You're going in the right direction. I can affirm that for you since I'm watching your journey through the training as well. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I will go for my nourishment and then I'm going to give a support call at 8:45. So I will see you in our next class together, and I'll keep working on the technology so that it keeps improving. So thanks again.